Social media account seems to be the artist's dream nowadays. With the art and gaming industries experiencing chaos due to AI and poor structure, being your own boss never seemed more tempting. And it was the same for me. I got laid off last September from an industry job that I honestly felt miserable in. The pay was horrible, the micromanagement, the disrespectful boss, you know the gist. I ended up doing smaller projects on the side before eventually I decided to share my story of being unfairly laid off on Instagram. It ended up popping off with around 300,000 views at the date of this video. This got a lot of traction to my account in February, and since then I went from 1k followers to 11.4k followers, which is by no means huge, by the way, but it is definitely not small either. Now, I did have a general gist of how one should market themselves, how to write contracts in terms of service to protect myself, what sort of art and reels to post, the technical stuff one could say. What I wasn't prepared for is the social and mental aspects of it all, and not a lot of people talk about it, which is funny considering it's a social media job. Today, I want to talk to you about my experiences of gaining popularity as an online artist and my personal opinions and views of the art community. Please understand this is just my experience and not the objective truth. I'm merely pointing out patterns I've seen and wish to share it so others who wish to pursue this career are more prepared than I was. With that being said, my name is Robbie and I'm a freelance artist and illustrator that hopes to make more videos like these in the future. So if you'd like, feel free to comment what you think are some topics that are under-discussed in the online art space that I could cover. For now, in this video, I will start off with the positives of my experience, then as we go, I will go into the more negative and complicated situations that occurred. The first thing I noticed with this career is that it's a great motivator really. Seeing so many people like my art, my characters and my style was a huge motivator after I started getting more traction on my art. I felt so happy that strangers felt something when looking at my illustrations. So many folks would leave kind comments, and when I started making more educational content too, I got a lot of messages from other artists thanking me, saying I inspired them to keep going or told me how much my advice helped them. It genuinely made me tear up a few times because that's what I want to do. I want to help people. I want my art to help people. I want to leave a positive mark in the world with it. This support, in turn, made me want to try new things and experiment. For example, I wouldn't have started working on my comic if it weren't for a handful of very kind people who practically yelled at me to go for it. I said this before and I will say it again. I truly think artists work a lot better in communities rather than they could ever work solo. There is something so motivating about being surrounded by like-minded individuals and being able to give and receive feedback. So if you are unsure if you should start posting on social media because people might not like your art, I think that you should go for it. Eventually, people who like your work will naturally gravitate towards you and you will feel inspired to keep going. Obviously, not everyone will like it, but you don't want everyone to like your art. Those that do will stay and those that don't won't. And with this newfound encouragement, however, I found that I also wanted to experiment a lot more, to step out of my comfort zone, experiment with my style, what brushes I used, my workflow, and it improved my illustrations a ton. But also, as you learn to create more content, you start to become a jack of all trades of sorts, which is another positive in my opinion. I learned editing so I can make my videos more polished, clean, and eye-catching, animation to give my storytime videos more life, to see characters move, and for fun mostly. Marketing, to know what my commission clients would want, which trends work and which don't, how to format and phrase things, yada yada yada, without having to compromise on what I draw. Communication is an important one because you learn how to talk to clients and build strong networks with brands and other artists, and a lot of different skills that come with being an online art creator. I see a lot of people saying things like, I'm an artist, I don't want to create content or learn how to edit, which, okay, fair, I understand the sentiment. The algorithm is not kind to artists nowadays. However, I feel like there is a lot more nuance to this conversation. Even before short-form content was popular, there were trends and marketing techniques artists utilized. If you want to become a popular and successful artist, it is not enough to just post your art anymore. The market is saturated. And the truth is, when you are a freelancer, having many of these skills in your tool belt will make you stand out. A good example of this is artists that do unique animated illustration commissions. And by the way, I'm not saying it's right that social media treats artists this way. I'm just saying sometimes you have to adapt your strategy. Knowing how to market yourself to your potential clients is genuinely the most useful skill you can have, regardless of your field of work. It's what got me from 1K to 11K followers on Instagram in only 6 months. And the last thing on the list of positives is the flexible schedule I could give myself. I make a decent amount from my social media, mostly commissions, enough to support myself and my cute little cat, and it has allowed me to have time for other things, to have mental health days, to go out with friends, to relax once in a while, which I couldn't do at my 9 to 5, mostly due to managers being absolutely nuts and wanting for us to be available 24/7 even on our days off, and would threaten us to stay working overtime. Anyways, this career is really good if you are someone who doesn't function well under rigid schedules. Even if you do prefer a more structured work week, you have the choice to build one for yourself. It just takes a little more discipline so you don't procrastinate or go wildly off track. I found that making your business truly does give you a new kind of confidence in yourself and your work that you didn't have before. You get to explore and set your own workflow instead of following one that was set out for you. I know I could be making more with an industry job, but honestly, it is not worth the stress and the misery that comes with it, at least for me, and I found that I have a lot more confidence being my own boss. And now let's move on to the negatives. And I'm gonna be honest, I have a lot to say, but I don't want you to think that because I do that this job is somehow awful. It's just that I care very deeply about the state of the art community, and seeing these consistent issues pop up is something that I think we don't talk about enough. This portion of the video is gonna be a little less structured. Some of it will be more of a rant, but I will try to also give examples on how to improve, change, or deal with these things. So it's not just all gloom and doom. Alright, with that out of the way, let's get started. And the first thing that I noticed that was an eyebrow raiser for me is that when you start putting in the work, and that effort shows with you growing more and more, a certain type of people will show their true colors. And I like to categorize them into 3 groups. Number 1, the moochers. I cannot describe how many people commented or messaged me asking if they could promote their commissions on my page. I clearly remember one person asking me if they could spam my comments because they're a small artist that needed traction. So many people who asked me for an art collab that didn't even follow or interact with my content, that I knew were only there so they could gain visibility instead of actually wanting to form a genuine connection. Not to mention that those that didn't even bother to ask and would just promote themselves in my comments or would spam me with their own reels asking to share them. Now, I'd like to think that most of these people are kids for my own sanity's sake. However, if you're a grown person doing this, I will explain to you how this is actually hurting your brand and your image. Promoting yourself on other artists' pages that didn't give you the explicit permission to do so comes across as firstly very rude, and second, as very insecure. Good artists don't need to promote themselves this way. Why would they? Their content speaks for itself. To put it into perspective, imagine walking into a gallery opening of a well-respected artist and shouting, "Well, look what I painted!" in the middle of the room for everyone to hear. Nobody likes being pestered, not clients or artists. I heard from many of my previous commissioners that they would get spammed with messages by smaller artists asking to commission them, which is insane. Listen, I understand the struggle of getting your art out there, but this is not the way to do it. People can tell when you are only talking to them to get something, even via text. It's extremely artificial, and art circles are very tightly knit too. You're practically self-blacklisting yourself by doing this, as other artists won't like to interact with people who only care about their own monetary or popularity gain. Also, side tangent, I still am flabbergasted from the encounter I had with an artist who kept trying to sound supportive, but afterwards I found out was using slurs that could be applied to me, and then had the gall to practically beg me to promote his work. Yeah, crazy. Anyways, back to the topic at hand on how you can improve. The better ways to promote yourself is to make meaningful content, interact with other artists, compliment them, respond to their stories. Be genuine in your interactions and it will show. Don't try to force anything or expect rewards or commissions in return. Patience and straightforwardness is key. The second type of person I would see is the can be happy for you kind. Now, full honesty, I fully block or cut off these people from my life at this point. If seeing my success makes your blood boil with rage to a point you just have to tell me backhandedly how my success was just luck, or feel the need to knock me down a peg every time we talk, then I fear you may need to relax and step away from the phone. Comparison is the thief of joy is certainly the truest statement I could have ever heard. I had many people try to downplay my success, chalk it up to luck or trends. Some would even still try to be friendly towards me, but they were speaking to me in a very condescending tone that could tell me everything they were thinking. And what hurt the most is that these people I consider to be very close to me, friends. friends I've had for a long time. It hurt to know that some people who you thought would be happy for you turned out to not be able to celebrate your wins with you at all. Unfortunately, this is an inevitable thing that you won't always be able to avoid. People get to know you at a certain level, and when you start to climb, they only know the step they are on, that you were on. They get scared that they don't recognize you anymore, so they try to pull you back. In some way, it's due to fear that they will lose you, and in some ways, it's their own insecurities speaking louder than reason or kindness. You, however, can't let it be what stops you from going upwards. It hurts, and it sucks, and the feeling of confusion and frustration with them won't go away immediately, but when one door closes, another opens. You now leave space open for people who will be happy for you, who will support you and cheer you on when you need it, no matter how high you climb. And third, and arguably the most annoying type of person, is the hater. You've seen him, you hate him. They're your typical trolls who have nothing better to do than hate and argue about stupid things in your comments. Most of the time, they're not worth entertaining at all. Personally, I like to hit them with the keep commenting and boost my engagement bit, and that makes them stop rather quickly, but not all the time. It's almost incredible to see how polarizing the internet has become over the smallest things. Genuinely, I'm not sure if I should be impressed, concerned, or both with the lack of nuance. I remember the one time I made a video about my D&D cleric character where I called his goddess his matron, and one guy in my comments absolutely lost his mind, calling me names, threats, etc. Which sort of leans into the other point I wanted to make. Fair warning, this is where we get into the more ranty part of this video. As of recently, I started posting on TikTok too, and I know people often argue Instagram comments are bad, but honestly, the people on TikTok make my Instagram comments look like an intellectual haven. To give you some context, I deleted TikTok about 3 years ago and only recently came back to try to expand my social media there as well. I posted one video about how much money I made from commissions per month, and oh my god, not only did people see this number and think it was 1 million, which, Jesus Christ, literacy is dead, but TikTok comments somehow managed to be all of those previous 3 people combined into one. It seems to me like on TikTok there is this weird misconception about how becoming a successful artist works, as if there is some secret hidden shortcut or trend one must follow that's being kept from them from making millions of dollars. I'd like to say that at least 70% of my comments were people assuming I did furry or NSFW commissions, or things like, oh, clearly they made most money in February because Yuma shippers, which, sorry to break it to everyone, but that is simply not true. Now, I'd like to clarify, I have nothing against NSFW or furry artists. You guys are great. It's just not something I do. What I do have an issue with is the entitlement of some TikTok artists. The general consensus I gathered was that a lot of these people think that just because they posted maybe like 5 art pieces, they are owed commissions. And a lot of times, if I'm being honest, their art is not that great either. Objectively speaking, it is on a beginner level. Hot take, guys, not everyone should be doing commissions, especially beginners. Not only are you leaving yourself up to be scammed because you don't understand how to make terms and service or have experience in handling transactions, you don't have the skills to make it a consistent service. Just because someone draws the aforementioned topics too doesn't mean they'll suddenly make bank either. Sorry again, guys, but the truth behind getting consistent commissions is actually very, very boring. It's building an audience online, posting regularly, and being disciplined with your work. Every other issue I've had on Instagram, it feels like on TikTok it's amplified by 100. Part of me believes that it is due to TikTok's tendency to push low-effort content, as the kids would say, slop, while Instagram has actually started punishing repetitive videos. Like, I don't think avid TikTok users that commented on that video of mine realize how rude and insane they sound to any normal, not chronically online person. It genuinely is scary and insane how mean-spirited and self-centered the app has become, and how normalized this behavior is. And the fact that now there is a trend going around of people asking for commissions only to say something like, how much is a blank canvas with a magenta dot or whatever. What? It really felt like watching a circle of alien kindergartens all screaming at each other or parroting the same thing. Ugh. Now, I don't want to be only critiquing here, so what is my advice for this? Well, I do think this issue is not just an art community one, and I can't get the whole of internet to behave from a single advice. I do think there is some small changes we could make, however. I personally decided to delete any and all comments that parrot this sort of thinking, as I don't want that to be normalized on my page. For other artists, big or small, I recommend that we all try to remember that we are a community after all. It is not every man out for himself. Remember to be kind and to be genuine. Instead of leaving a hate comment on a video you don't like, comment something nice or supportive on a video that you do like. We can't and won't thrive by stepping over each other or trying to tear each other down. that only leads to unnecessary drama and more hatred brewing. If someone is being unreasonable, don't stoke the fires, just remove them from your community. Create meaningful content, be authentic, be kind, but firm. Take the time to step away from social media at times, and take the time to self-reflect too. Ask yourself, is this the content I want to represent me? What message am I putting out there? And how can I do better? At the end of the day, we can only lead by example. So if we practice these things, hopefully others will follow suit and we'll have a more welcoming, kind, and well thought out community. There is obviously a lot more to be said about many of these things, but that's a topic for another time. If you've reached the point of this video, thank you so much for staying and listening to me yap about this. It's something I've been meaning to talk about for a long while, but I knew it wouldn't work in a shorts format. I'd love to hear if you guys have similar experiences or what you think of this topic. Just remember to stay respectful, and I'd love to hear how you think I can improve these videos as well. If you want to see more of the art that I do, I am most active on my Instagram and Ko-fi, both which will be linked in the description. Thank you again, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye bye!